This is going to be a mini track guide for the BMW M Hybrid V8 LMDh at Sebring. I had a few people ask me what my braking markers are that I'm going to be doing the race with, so I figured I'd make a quick video. Gonna try not make it too long, but you never know. I sometimes get diarrhea of the mouth. Anyways, if you're trying to match my settings for this, set your date to March 18th, 2023. I did 3 p.m., 100% track state. Set it to partly cloudy, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, northeast wind 10 mile an hour, and 26% relative humidity. All of that should translate to 107-degree track temp. I was trying to get close to whatever the warmest temperature of the race is going to end up being, or close to it. And I was there this past weekend, so I can say that roughly 3 in the afternoon, it was pretty freaking hot. Anyways, my laps, I'm just probably going to show these three, but upper 44, low 45, depending on if I hit all my brake markers. But anyways, headed towards turn one. I'm going to get to the right here. So kind of what I aim to start braking and turning in at is, I don't like using shadows, but this wall kind of, you can see where there's this angle, where the wall all of a sudden angles to the left. That's kind of the marker that I use, and then you're going to get as close as possible. You're going to downshift from 6th to 5th gear, and you're going to get pretty close to that inside wall. Obviously, don't get as close if you want to play it safer. But it's a very high speed corner, extremely bumpy. But you gotta be careful when you pick your throttle back up because you don't want to run wide on exit. Headed down into what is this Kinks turn 2. This is going to be turn 3. Where this lines across the track are the 3 cones on the right. I'm going to go down to 2nd gear. This goes for most of this track. I try and avoid all the curbs. This car doesn't really like it. But I'm going to clip it some, but just know that I intend not to hit the curbs. Down to 2nd here, avoid the curb on the right. You can go up to 3rd gear here. If you do, it's a very brief. If you just leave it in 2nd, it'll probably bounce off the rev limiter some. But at the end of this blue and white curbing on the right is where I brake and do my turn in. And when I say that that's what I'm aiming for, like, to my perception, that's what it feels like. I'm probably a bit before that. So if you're doing when you think you're like sitting on top of the end of that, that's going to be too late. You want to enter wide here. I'm sorry, I don't try not to back up here, but you want to enter as wide as possible and get as close to the curb on the inside as possible without touching it. On exit here specifically, I aim to get this flat part of the strip. If you get some of this raised curbing, that can you can jump that, end up in the dirt, or you can cause traction control to trigger. So I try and aim for the flat part. Headed down into the hairpin. We're going to call this turn 7, I believe, or just the hairpin. Alright, so you have the asphalt where it turns darker, and then you have the 4 cones with a line across the track. If I'm feeling really confident in my braking, I'll wait until the 4 cone, but realistically probably halfway between the start of this and the 4 cones and the line across the track is where I like to do it. Down to 1st gear, you're going to get your right sides onto the curbing here. This curbing's okay. Possibly even into the dirt. But you want to get the car straight and then apply throttle. I missed the apex here. I was really trying to get it, and I ended up missing the apex. You can see the yellow LEDs up there lit up, so I locked the right front. Alright, into turn 10. Or Cunningham, I believe, is another name for it. The 4 cones. And I'm going to go down to second gear. Again, trying to avoid the curb on the inside, getting right to it, being patient on the throttle. I catch the curb a little bit here. Ideally, you just try and get right next to it without hitting it. You can see I kind of get a little snappy loose here. Be up to 5th gear here. Now this is a tricky turn because you want to get back to the left side of the track here, but you're possibly going to be braking and turning a little bit. You want to try and do the really heavy braking in as straight as line as possible. I feel like I want to say it's the 3 cones for me, but realistically it's probably a little bit before that. I'm going to get down to 2nd gear. It can be done in 3rd gear as well. I don't think there's a huge time difference. I just feel like it gets a little bit of a better drive off in 2nd gear, but you're going to be shifting up to 3rd pretty quickly. Getting your tires right to that rumble strip. You're going to start your turn in. You definitely do not want to hit this curb on the inside here. This is, you can see how angled it is. If you touch it, it is going to make your car push big time on X, and you're probably going to run into the dirt. So do your best to avoid it. But you're going to exit all the way out onto the strip to the left, pretty much all the way out to the dirt. Again, it takes multiple laps to be confident doing that, but that is what my goal is most laps. I'm going to be flat out through this little quick section. Alright. The end of the curbing here is probably what my target is. If you wait until the 3 cone, I think you're a little bit too late. This is another turn that I'm not 100% sold on one way or the other what gear to use. The majority of the time I use 3rd gear, but sometimes I'll use 4th, and I feel like 4th just keeps the speed up better. But ultimately, the final turn onto the Ullman straight, I am going to take in 3rd gear. So experiment as you wish. In these example laps, I probably do it both ways. I don't know if one way is better than the other. This curbing here, you're going to get onto the curbing. What you absolutely do not want to do is get your tires over onto the asphalt on the inside of the curbing, because inevitably you're going to end up going back across the curb, and it is raised and it will make the car bounce, traction control kick in. A lot of different things can happen there. So you don't want to do that. And they're going to swing. I try and get my lefts going right across the end of this curbing here. If you do it too aggressively, you'll bounce the car also and push, but you're going to angle out this way, running quite a bit wide of the white line here, down to 3rd gear, and then you're going to want to get your rights, similar to the turn before, onto the rumble strip, but you definitely don't want to jump over it. It can be hard to get far to the left here and get all the way back to the right. You gotta be patient, get back on the throttle, exit out nice and wide onto the curbing, but you don't want to put the lefts into the dirt on exit. We'll go up to 7th here. Should be the only place you use the 7th gear. my marker here. Now this is an intimidating turn. This is Sunset Bend, turn 17, I think it is, if you're going to number them. The 2 cone, I will start. This is a lighter braking zone. You're not going to go full brake pressure. You probably maybe 50% or so. I'm going to end up down in 3rd gear. And I'm going to try and hug as pretty close to the inside as possible. It's extremely bumpy. And then there's a bridge there, as I'm kind of passing under that, and I'm able to try and straighten the wheel out, that's when I'll really start applying pressure. Throttle back down, I should say. Exit out, nice and wide. Watch a couple full speed turns. So the wall where it starts to angle back to the left, 5th gear. I get really close there. Down to 2nd here, avoid the curbs. See, I left it in 2nd there. You can go up to 3rd, but then I clipped a little bit of curb on the inside there. It would have been better if I didn't clip that. Then halfway between the patch and the 4 cone, down to 1st. I get the apex a lot better here. Power out. Gonna get up to 6th gear here, then I'm gonna brake at the 4 cone, down to 2nd gear, avoid the curb. We'll get to 5th, then we're gonna go down to 2nd here. You can use 3rd. Avoid that curb to the inside, exit out nice and wide. 6th gear, gonna go down to 3rd or 4th. The end of that rumble strip on the left. So I do 4th here. And I get the car all out of sorts there. This actually would have been probably a better lap. But you can see I got the car all out of sorts. I jumped across that rumble strip a little bit too much. And I was just kind of chasing it. Turn in and brake at the 2 cone. Close to that wall on the inside. Get down to 3rd. Probably pretty close to the inside. Exit out nice and wide. Probably not that wide. That was maybe a little too wide. Into where that wall angles, 5th gear. Down to 2nd. Avoid your curbs. That was a good complex there. Just getting close to the curves but avoiding them. Down to 1st. Four cones. Down to 2nd. Avoid the curb. A little bit before the 3, down to 2nd. Into the rumble strip on the left here. See, I use 3rd gear here. I end up putting more power down as opposed to carrying speed, but then I do end up in 4th and then back down to 3rd. That was extremely close on exit. I think I actually may have kicked some 3rd up. This is going to be the end of this video here. If you have questions, definitely let me know.